I am against racism. I don't want people to be judged differently by the colors of their skins. I don't want the federal government to engage in federally mandated racism and segregation. These are things that everyone should agree with. Certainly libs would. Yet libs have used the Voter Rights Act to segregate our country based on skin color so that they could rig congressional districts like this in the Deep South, where every one of these states votes for Donald Trump by between 10 or 40 points. They have been able to carve out congressional districts based on how many black people lived there and perceived injustices that exist today in 2026. I don't think so. Nonetheless, Democrats are able to peel off dozens of seats in the deep red South in order to try and rig elections through racial lines, and that's what this is. Take, for example, Louisiana. Look at this district. What in the sweet hell is this exactly? It looks like a Rorschach blot test. It looks like Joe Biden did some of Hunter Biden's cocaine and went down to the Oval Office and had a time with the auto pen on full power. How could you possibly draw this? I don't know. It looks like a Jackson Pollock painting. But this is what a district looks like, and it's a total abomination. Looks like a literal pathogen or virus. When Democrats draw a line based on how many black people live in the district. It's wrong. It's illegal, and it was the subject of a Supreme Court ruling that was just handed down. Ladies and gentlemen, Marvel is coming out with a doomsday movie this summer, but doomsday for Democrats is here early. Supreme Court signals that it will limit the Voting Rights Act rule, and that rule was just handed down seconds ago. The Supreme Court has tossed the Louisiana House map in major Voting Rights Act win for the GOP ahead of the midterms. Let's go ahead and pop on in here and read in a massive, massive ruling. SCOTUS guts Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, making it harder to challenge racially discriminatory maps. Oh, no. Let's go ahead and look at what the impact could be and what's actually happening. And this is the framing, of course, by Democrats. This is what I kind of can't figure out here exactly. If we are all created equal, why are we drawing? If Martin Luther King Jr. is saying, I don't want to be judged by my skin color. If that's the case, then why are you drawing racial maps? Aren't you against redlining? Isn't that I love it because at least I have a defensible worldview, right? Which is that people should be treated equal. I'm a Christian. I think that God loves everyone and created human beings. And so, that doesn't obviously mean open border. You shouldn't take that to, the insane left-wing conclusion, right? That there should be no nation states or anything like that. But you should at least have human dignity for people. And so how does redlining or carving people up based on their skin color and putting them in little pots, creating little ghetto, literal congressional ghettos for people to live in, how is that in any way consistent with a worldview that all people should be created? It's not. But for generations, Democrats have been able to rig the South and do exactly that. And you can see the results here, taking deep, dark red states and making them left-wing. I said, and you hate to brag here, but this was a post from 9 months ago, the South is insanely rigged by Democrats to steal Republican seats in red states that vote for Trump over 40 points. This is not democracy. This is a government-mandated racism, and now it's over. Democrats are losing their minds. Today's ruling could help secure 27 more red seats in Congress. So eat it, Virginia. Cement GOP House control for a generation. Rewrite redistricting rules for state legislatures, city councils, and school boards. Without racial protections, maps could be redrawn with almost no limits. Yeah. Oh, you mean like what you did in Virginia? Like what you're trying to do in California? These jackasses. It must be really hard. I mean, it's just straight up pathological to be able to hold two competing ideas in your mind at the same time. It is the definition of insanity. The Supreme Court struck down Louisiana's congressional map on one day, finding that the Pelican state unconstitutionally added a second majority black House district in a major decision that implicates future elections. I thought the states were up, the elections were on a state level, right? Isn't this up to the states? Isn't that the argument the libs always use? Federalism, right? They only love federalism when it cuts one way. Well, here's the cut. Louisiana has been forced by lower courts to create majority black districts, which is insane. This is something that was, totally coded in a generation long gone in 1965, with a very different, like right at the, so the epoch of the Civil Rights Act and so on, a very, very different America. And the Supreme Court rightly struck it all down. The Trump administration and state officials challenged the new map, arguing that the racial gerrymandering violates the 14th Amendment, which guarantees citizens equal protection under the law. The court agreed in a 6-3 decision. It destroyed the grid to break down racial boundaries in the Voting Rights Act, and now this is no more. So now what could happen? 27 new congressional seats. Let's go ahead and check the reactions here. Extremely grateful to see this decision. We've been waiting for, proud to co-sponsor the brief, the United States amicus in this important case, perhaps the most important development in decades for jurisprudence. Huge win at the Supreme Court today. States can no longer be forced to draw congressional maps based on race of the voters who live in them. It is critically important. For 40 years, federal judges have ordered state legislatures to draw race-based districts in the name of fairness. That's insane. It's in the name of racism. That practice ends today. States can now draw districts based on geography and communities, not based on skin color, which is an obscene. That is, by the way, federally mandated racism. Nothing in this decision changes anybody's right to vote, register, or to have any ballot counted. Bottom line, the Constitution is colorblind again. Frederick Douglass would agree. Boom, Supreme Court drops a massive 6-3 bomb on racial gerrymandering in Louisiana. And in this decision, I just love it. The decision just says, hey, racism is illegal. You can't be racist. And maybe we should just kick Ketanji Brown Jackson off the court, because what Joe Biden said was, I'm going to appoint a black woman. That's racist. Maybe we should strip her of her robes. Ladies and gentlemen, current map, Republicans 65-24, could net Republicans a total of a net 24 seats. So minus 12 plus 12. Net 24 or 27 seats. Ooh, baby. As we've said, Atlanta's a problem. Georgia should fix that. And of course, Republicans are planning on fixing Florida. Republicans are planning on getting rid of 4 more seats in Florida. Could absolutely add plus 330 to the House. Samuel Alito's majority opinion in the 6-3 decision on constitutionally and racially gerrymandered congressional districts makes clear that such districts are blatantly unconstitutional. The Voter Rights Act is designed to enforce the Constitution, not collide with it, Alito wrote. Unfortunately, lower courts have applied precedents in a way that forces states to engage in the very race-based discrimination the Constitution forbids. Nice. So there you go. Ooh, Alito. Scorching opinion, majority opinion. There's a legitimate argument that Ketanji Brown Jackson's appointment to the Supreme Court is unconstitutional under federal law, because he said he's going to appoint a black woman, right? Yeah. Maybe someone should sue Ketanji Brown Jackson and figure that out. Redraw now, go full red. Now is the time to go war mode on the South out of love, right? We already tried that in the Civil War. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Democrats have for years sued over and over and over again to force black majority districts. That practice is now over. Finally decided in a massive majority by the Supreme Court. Ron DeSantis, this decision implicates a district in Florida, the legal infirmities of which have been corrected by the newly drawn and enacted map soon, says Ron DeSantis. Ron DeSavage adding 4 new seats for Republicans in Florida, and potentially 5. It kind of depends on the way the final map draws out. Big decision, huge 2026 implications. Red states have been forced for a very long time to draw racially discriminatory seats that always end up won by Democrats because black people tend to vote like 80% Democrats. That's like kind of a national average, between 70 and 80% Democrats. So this is what you get. Same thing with like criminal aliens, obviously, and first-generation migrants, and this is why Democrats want to flood our nation with them. Every single state should get this locked in. There you go. Upcoming primary dates. You gotta keep rolling here. You gotta do it, ladies and gentlemen. Which party will control the House in 2026? The numbers haven't changed, but I think they will in the coming days. I think the numbers will change very swiftly. I thought this was an amazing tweet. And it's funny how libs are like, Republicans are evil and gerrymander. Blue shades should respond. Yeah, like the Republican map looks totally normal. Like these look like totally normal and fair districts, right? They're like square. And then the Democrats' response is, oh, we should do this to California, which looks like again, a schizophrenic meth addict drew every single district. A schizophrenic meth addict with ALS drew every single district. Yeah, no. The American people aren't going to buy it. The courts aren't going to buy it. We're excited about this. This is a massive win for our country. Ladies and gentlemen, keep on winning. It's your boy Benny. Like, share, and subscribe. See ya.